I'm Karun Chandhok, racing with JRM Racing in the World Endurance Championship. Well, Le Mans obviously this year is going to be the 80th running of the race, so it's got a huge history. I think it's one of the big three races in the world. It's quite unique in our business that we have these three races within a 3-week period. You know, we've got the Indy 500, the Monaco Grand Prix, and obviously the Le Mans 24 hours. So I've done Monaco, I've done Macau, and I think you know, to tick the box, Le Mans is one of those things you have to do in your career. So I'm very excited. I think in my career I've been part of a very privileged club of 2 Indians out of 1.3 billion to have raced in Formula 1, and you know, there's a lot of us around the planet, and to be the first one to start and race at Le Mans this year is obviously a very special feeling. But you know, at the moment we're so focused on the job in hand. I think the sentiments will start to kick in probably 20 years from now when I'm sitting back on a beach having retired. But at the moment it's a great feeling, of course. The cars that we use in the World Endurance Championship are quite different to a Formula 1 car. I mean, obviously, as soon as you look at it, you make out they're a lot wider, they're a lot bigger generally because of the regulations being a prototype. I mean, theoretically, we're meant to have space for a second seat, although we're just full of electronic boxes. You know, the cars, they produce a lot of downforce because the square area of the floor is so big. They have obviously less power than Formula 1 cars, and they're 400 kilos heavier. So I think the weight is the biggest thing for me to get used to, because I've never driven a car this heavy before. There's a lot of weight moving around at the high G-forces. But because the cars produce a lot of downforce, they have a lot of grip in the corners, so they're quite physical to drive. And the racing is fantastic. I think that's the main thing in endurance racing, is every lap. You know, in F1 you would pass maybe 3 or 4 cars in an entire race if you're lucky. Here you'll pass 5 or 6 cars on one lap. So, you know, I think that's where the pleasure and the enjoyment comes from, is the wheel-to-wheel racing in this form of racing. Driving at night for me is a new experience this year. I did Sebring, I did the night stint and finished the race there, and that was pretty cool, I have to say. You know, driving with you know, just the headlights, and you sort of go into a zone with it's like tunnel vision almost. It's like being in Monaco almost in many ways. You know, in the same sort of perception. But it's a unique challenge again of the championship, and I think I've never been to Le Mans before, so certainly going down the Mulsanne Straight at you know, over 330 kilometers an hour in the dark is going to be an interesting experience for the first few laps. But I'm looking forward to it. I didn't really have much problem adapting to the dark in Sebring. I mean, on my second lap I went quicker than I was in the daytime, so I don't think it should be too much of a problem. Well, when we go to Le Mans, we'll go through the tests and the qualifying, and then once we understand between the 3 of us where each of our strengths and weaknesses lie, the team will sort of together will formulate a strategy for the race. So there are regulations which say that everyone has to drive a certain amount of time. But I suspect we'll all do at least 6 or 7 hours each, because we're all pretty evenly matched in the car. I think we have to be realistic going into Le Mans. You know, there are going to be 4 factory Audi cars and 2 Toyotas, and realistically, you know, we know we can't compete with them in a straight fight. But I think our realistic goal is to be best of the rest behind the factory cars. You know, particularly the diesels, you know, with their engine and the fuel economy, will be very hard to compete with. So if we can be best of the rest behind the Audis and Toyotas, I think we would have done a great job this season.